Hello artists, in this video we're going to be learning how to draw a big wave. Our drawing is based on a very famous artwork called the Great Wave that was done by a Japanese artist named Hokusai around 1829 to 1833. If you look at this work of art, you'll notice that it shows one massive wave and a few smaller ones that are throwing about 3 different boats. You'll notice that the waves have the white foam on top as they curl over and all of the nice colored blue stripes underneath to show the water. It's a little hard to see, but in the background, this pointed shape right here is the Japanese volcano, Mount Fuji. We're going to use this Great Wave work of art as inspiration for our own version of the Great Wave in our drawings. I'll show you how to make the waves with the white crests on top, how to make the volcano in the background, and add the sun behind it. We're going to make ours a little bit more like the beach by adding the sun. For materials, you can use a white piece of paper, any size will do, a pencil to draw with, an eraser in case you make a mistake, a black marker or crayon if you would like to outline your drawings, and for coloring, I use just markers and crayons. If you want to use paint or pastels or colored pencils, that would be fine also. Watercolor paints would also look really good with the water, so that might be something to think about. Let's get started on our wave drawing. Before we begin our wave drawing, you're going to want to make sure that you take your white paper and turn it horizontal across so that you have enough room to draw plenty of waves in your picture. I'm going to be drawing with a black marker so you guys can see, but of course you should draw with a pencil first in case you make a mistake. So now before we can get to our great big wave in the center of our picture, we're going to draw some smaller ones first in the front. So I'm going to start at the corner of my paper and I'm going to draw a wave. Now usually when we make wavy lines, we kind of make them a little curvy and bumpy when we draw. We're going to make ours a little bit more pointed this time because we want them to look like really strong, big waves, just like we saw in the work by the artist Hokusai. So I'm going to start by making my curve up almost like a point and back down. And I'm going to keep going till I go all the way across my paper. Now, because these are really rough waters, the waves on the very top of them have the white crest, the foamy part. So to draw that foamy part, I'm going to make another wavy line, but this time I'm going to make them smaller and much curvier. We will leave these white when we color our waves in later on. Now, if I have room, I could also make some smaller waves to the side before I get to the real big one. Add the foam. I could stop and pick up in different spots. Each one of your waves could be different. And maybe I'll make another small wave over here. This is a really wavy, bumpy ocean we're making, so you can make as many waves as you like. Just leave space in the center for the great wave, which is what we're going to do now. So I'm going to start at the edge of my page, and I'm going to come out towards the center and curve over. So I'm going to go right like this, nice and slow, up and over like a hook, okay? I'm going to go right where I left off and make the wavy foam line and stop when I touch my beginning line. Because this is a huge wave, it is curved over with the crest, and the rest of the wave is going to curve underneath. So I'm going to go inside that foam line, curve down and around for my wave. There you go. Now I have some room in the back, so I'm going to make some smaller waves around it. So again, I'm going to go back to those pointy wavy lines and add the foam. And I think I will add another one over here. Stop when I hit the big wave. Don't draw through it. You have more room. You could always make more. Now, in the Great Wave work of art, there are lines, all different shades of blue, underneath the top crest of the wave to show the water. I'm going to draw them first before we color them in later on. Mine is with a black marker. Your pencil is just fine. So we're going to make them curve just like the water does, so they mimic the movement of the waves. Spread them out, almost like we're making stripes. And then when I go to color, these will look super cool with all different cool colors, especially blues. It'll look just like the ocean water. Remember, stop when you hit another line. Don't draw through it. Make sure you spread them out. They don't need to be close together. Double check and make sure you got all your waves when you are done. Okay, there's the water. Now it's time to add the background. So before I go on to the background, I have to decide what I want to do. If I want it to look exactly like the work of art, the Great Wave, I'm going to add a small Mount Fuji volcano in the background. If I wanted to make it a little bit my own, maybe instead of the volcano, I put a little boat. Maybe I put a little island with a palm tree. Your choice. But I'm going to show you how to make the volcano like we saw in the Great Wave artwork. So I'm going to go right here to the side. And since I want this to be far away, no matter what you make, whether it's a boat or an island or a volcano, it is far away in the background. So I have to draw it smaller, much smaller than my great big wave. So when I go to make my volcano, which is what I'm choosing to make, I'm going to go up just a little bit, curve for the top, and come down. It's not too big because it's farther away in the background. If I wanted it to be really far away, I would draw it even tinier. Now I'm going to make the little line for the lava on my volcano just because I think it looks really cool. But you, of course, could always just leave it empty. Doesn't have to erupt. If you wanted to make the volcano look like it was erupting, you could always make some of the lava squirt out from the top. But that's up to you if you want to do that. Now, once I have my water and my little background detail done, I'm going to add a sun in the sky. So I'm going to go up top. I'm going to start with half a circle in the empty space that I have on my paper. And I'm going to make the sun rays. So I'm going to make straight lines that come from the center sun down to the edges of the water. Stop when you hit something. We don't draw through it. It'll look like the sun is shining. And when we color it all the different warm colors, all the yellows and oranges and reds, it'll look super cool against the blues in the water. So there are my sun rays. Once you have your drawing all complete, you could outline with a black marker or a black crayon. That is up to you. If not, you could go right to coloring. So coloring, it's your choice what materials you want to use. I used markers and crayons in mine, but if you wanted to paint or use color pencils or pastels, that works also. I'm going to show you how to use the markers and crayons. So what I like to do is I like to use the markers to outline my drawing first and then use crayons to color in the spaces. It's a super neat way to color, and it also helps you stay inside the lines. So what I did before I did any coloring is I thought about what colors I needed for the water. So basically you're going to need cool colors. All different shades of blues would be perfect for the water. So I went into my marker box and my crayon box and took out all the different blues I had first, so I had them ready to go. Even blue violet works too. Blue-green, light blue, dark blue. There's all different shades. Sky blue, whatever blues you have are great for the water. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my blue first, and I'm going to use them to outline the lines in the water. And I'm going to switch off so that I can use some different blues in between. And they're not all the same. Notice I'm not outlining the top of the wave because the top foamy part of the wave stays white. So that won't be colored in blue, but the rest of it will. And I can switch to some light blues. Lots of possibilities of what you can use. Another thing you can do with the markers before you color in with crayons, if you're choosing to do this, is you can add some extra lines inside the water to give it a little texture. So maybe I take my blue marker and inside these empty space, I make some extra curved lines. So it really looks like the wave in the water is moving. And I would keep going, and I could use different blues. It's an idea to help make the water look realistic. And I would keep going until I've added my marker outlining and details to all of the water. And then I would just take my crayons and all of my different shades of blue, and I would color over the markers that I just made. Since the markers are darker than crayons, I can color right over them without a problem, and I would still be able to see those lines and all of the marker outlines. It's a really interesting, neat way to color, so that might be something you want to try. And I don't have to stick with one shade of blue. Of course, I can change it. I'm going to use some blue violet in the next one. If you use all different types of blues and different cool colors, your purples, maybe even a little green, blue-green, your water will look awesome. Now, of course, when I get to my background details, depends on what you decided to make. If you made a palm tree and an island, you would just color in the colors you needed. If I made the volcano, like I did for mine, you would need red for the lava, and of course, brown for the base of the volcano. When I get to the sun and the sun rays, I would switch my markers, if I was going to outline first, to warm colors. So yellows and oranges and reds, maybe even a little pink if you wanted. And I could outline with the marker first and then color inside the lines. I could also use the markers to add some little details to the sun rays before I put the crayon on top. So maybe I do this. So it looks like the sun is really shining in the background. Switch and I can add a little bit of orange. And I would keep going until it looked the way I wanted to. And then, of course, just like I'm doing with the water, I can take the crayon and color inside the space. Okay? It's an idea for using markers and crayons. If you just want to color with the markers and crayons normally, that's okay. Just remember it should be cool waters and warm sun. So think of the colors you want to use before you get started. Like I said, if you want to paint, crayons and color pencils, watercolors are perfectly fine. In some of the previous videos that you guys have seen, I used markers and turned them into watercolor paint. That would be a great idea. You would just outline with the markers first and then take some clear water and a paintbrush and then use the water to spread the marker into paint to fill inside the rest of the spaces. If you are going to do that technique, just make sure that you use washable markers because permanent markers won't work for that step. When you are done coloring, it'll look a little bit like this. Here is my great wave all complete. Remember, the tops of the waves stay white, so you don't have to color that in. If you have any other ideas or details of things you would like to add before you color, maybe you put little boats, maybe you want to put a little surfer that's surfing the wave down below or up top, that's up to you. You can get a little creative and add your own details to your great wave composition. Take your time, color in neatly and completely, and I can't wait to see what you make.